الحمد لله الحمد لله وحده والصلاة والسلام على من لا نبي بعده أما بعد. Welcome to the first lesson of Beginner's Arabic Language course that inshallah ta'ala we start today and try to run smoothly on a weekly basis. There will be 4 stages or 4 levels, you can say, about 25 to 30 lessons, between 25 and 30 lessons for level 1, and then we continue to move on once we have completed level 1 inshallah ta'ala to the next and the following. Before we start, let's have a quick recap of our intention. It's a bit of assessment why we want to learn Arabic. The idea is that we want to understand the Quran, the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, so that we can improve our connection with Deen, with the teachings of Islam through Quran and Sunnah. Obviously, we will still need a lot of help from the scholars to guide us as to what the detailed meanings of certain things is, what are the rulings about certain things. Yet, when someone tries to learn the language, they try to get a bit better understanding of the language compared to someone who just go by the translation. Hence, the idea of knowing the language from its sources, from grammatical rule. So our intention is to understand Deen. Hence why it would be a traditional literature type Arabic grammar course, more sort of typical grammar based rather than the spoken colloquial language, which you need to spend some time in any Arab country and you would pick up and you'll be able to communicate with people. Here the idea is not to communicate, rather to grasp the foundation, the basic understanding of the language, so as to make it easy for us as a non-Arabic speaking people to approach Quran and Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The intention is not to boast, not to show off to others, not to feel big about oneself, not to be able to make rules from Quran and Sunnah on your own without having to go through the scholarship or the qualified scholars, rather to have some connection and fulfill the obligation of knowing and understanding the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the sayings of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam inshallah ta'ala. It would take a lot of effort, serious commitment. One has to have dedication, not just a wishful thinking that I want to learn Arabic, that everyone else is trying, so let me try as well. Rather, the idea is that I want to learn and I want to do a lot of sacrifice for this. A lot of hard work and commitment go into it. Punctuality is extremely important. Obviously, I can understand that many people would be working, some would be going to school and universities, some may have other commitments, yet these sessions would be recorded and will be uploaded on a regular basis. So we would have time to catch up with those that we missed and review them, revise them, grasp them, and ask any question in the group if there was any, so as to improve our understanding of the topic. And it would be a relatively smoother and slower process. We would not try to bombard you with so much information in one go, inshallah ta'ala. But the punctuality remains crucial, because slowly it builds up to the point when the curve gets a bit more steeper. And at that point, many people tend to lose heart and hope, and they feel that perhaps I'm not worthy, I can't do it, it's too difficult. It actually is difficult, but not impossible. It is doable, and that is why many people manage to do it. Many people in India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and European countries, they manage to grasp the language to the maximum potential, really. And they do not speak the language. They understand it through the hard work, through knowing the rules and applying them, practicing, reading the books regularly. So this is our idea, inshallah ta'ala. One takes some notes, although you would have the slides available on the website, but it is better to have your own notes, because many a time you pick up things that you do not know, or you are struggling with, or the things that you get very clear about at that moment, and it might help you at a later time when you want to revise your notes. So taking notes is always good, and it is adab of any knowledge to take some notes. It helps you. And then one comes a bit more prepared. One has the eagerness to learn. You're not tired. You've taken time off to do sessions. You've already revised your notes. You have done some homework, whatever has been asked. And then hopefully you would see the blessing, inshallah ta'ala. Okay. What are the sciences that are covered in Arabic language? There are quite a few, actually. Just a quick overview. Grammar, which inshallah ta'ala we will cover here. And then there is ilm al-sigha, which deals with morphology and this etymology. So etymology deals with this ishtiqaq, means taking some baseline root letters and extract some extra word from that root letter. And sarf, we talk about that as well, inshallah ta'ala. And then how you write Arabic, how you compose certain paragraphs or stories, adab, literature. And then you have this tajweed, how to pronounce certain letters and words. And then arud, about the poetry, the rhyme, the qawafi. And then measure of poetry and the history of adab. And there's ilm al-balagha, the rhetoric. And there are many things with that. And then oratory. So there's quite a few things which encompass Arabic language as a whole. But we will be dealing, inshallah ta'ala, with three main aspects, inshallah ta'ala. Okay, let's go on to the terminology. So these are the terminology you would hear many times during the course of the lesson today and many in future. So the haraka or harakat, we say harakah in Arabic, diacritical mark, the designational mark, the fatha, dhamma, kasra, the signs, zabar, zir, and pesh. A mutaharrik is a letter which has harakah on it. A letter that has any fatha, dhamma, kasra, zabar, zir, or pesh, one or two, is called a mutaharrik letter, as opposed to a letter with sukoon, a letter that is inactive. So active letter or inactive letter. The one that has haraka is called mutaharrik, active. The one that doesn't have any haraka is called sakin, or not mutaharrik. Fatha is zabar in Indo-Pak language, but it's the same thing. Fatha is the mark at the top of a letter. Kasra at the bottom, underneath it. And dhamma is like a small wow at the top, a comma type at the top. It's called dhamma or pesh. Tanween is two zabar, two zay, two pesh. Dhammatan, fathatan, kasratan. Two of those. It's called tanween. Tanween. And a letter that has fatha is called maftuh. It has got fatha on it. Maksur is the letter that has kasra underneath it. Madmoom is the letter that has dhamma on it. Then sakin is the letter that has sukoon on it. Mushaddad is a letter that has shad, tajdeed on it. Tajdeed means the letter is doubled. It has two letters of the same kind. First being inactive, second is active. That is the rule with tajdeed. So a letter that has tajdeed or shad is called mushaddad. Ta'rif is to make something ma'rifah. We cover that. And nakira, to make something nakira, is called tankir. This is something for today, inshallah ta'ala. We'll come to that in a minute. Lam ta'rif is the lam that you add to a nakira to make it ma'rifah. It's like al, then the in English. When you say the man as opposed to a man, a pen, a house, or a house, you say the house. So that the is al in Arabic. That lam is lam ta'rif. And then wahid, mu'arraf bil lam is the noun that has been given a lam to make it ma'rifah. So for example, baytun means house, a house. A house is called baytun. Qalamun, a pen. To make it the pen, you add al to it. You say al qalamu. So that al would make this noun into mu'arraf, the noun which has become the ma'rifah, the definite noun, now by adding al. Tathniya, so wahid is singular in Arabic. And then tathniya is dual. And jama is plural. In Arabic, we have wahid, tathniya, and jama. We cover that separately. Ismu jama is collective plural. Tadhkir is mudhakkar, making something masculine. Ta'neeth is feminine. Huruf al-tahajji, the alphabet, the letter of alphabet. Huruf al-illa, alif, waw, and ya. Huruf al-sahiha, the letters besides alif, waw, and ya. Those are called vowels. Other than those, alif, waw, and ya, the rest of the letters are called consonants or huruf al-sahiha. Mutaharrik, alif, letter, and hamza. So what they're saying is any letter that has fatha, dhamma, kasra, it becomes hamza. If alif has fatha, dhamma, or kasra, it is actually a hamza, although it's written like alif. Alif is only alif when it is silent. It hasn't got anything on it. A silent alif, an alif without anything on it is called alif. If it has fatha, dhamma, or kasra, then it becomes hamza. And then rest we cover inshallah ta'ala. Okay, so what is kalima? Remember, a language is there to make people able to communicate with each other. This is a means to communicate. You could do sign language, you could write, or you could say words. The easiest thing is, and the natural way is to say words, make out some sounds. And that sound could be anything. It may have some meaning, it may have no meaning. If it hasn't got any meaning, it is called muhmal, it is just waste. The true word is a word that has some meaning. And that is why in Arabic we call it kalima. Kalima. Kalima is a word. Kalima means a word that has a meaning. Kalima means a word that has a meaning, rather than a word that does not have any meaning. Okay, so it has to, if you just say, hasn't got a meaning. They say a sound, I have said something, I've said something, but it hasn't got a meaning to it. It may suggest something, it may hint to something, but on its own, it hasn't got a meaning. So it is not called kalima. A kalima is a word that has meaning on its own, okay? It gives you some meaning. And there are three types. Sometimes that is independent. That word does not require any other word to help it, giving its complete sense. And sometimes it requires something else, another word, to give a complete sense. For example, if I say for has a meaning. In has a meaning, but in is not a complete, it doesn't give you complete sense. It gives you that idea that in something, but what is that something? You have to say that something to clarify. In the room, in the pocket, or in my pocket. So that in on its own has a meaning, yet it needs something else, another word or a verb to clarify itself. So this is called harf. Harf, or a particle. A particle is not completely independent. It needs something else to give its complete meaning. Whereas there are others that would give complete meaning. And there are two types. One is time-bound, one is time unbound. Time-bound means that this particular word has complete meaning, yet there is some time attached to it, either past tense, present, or future. For example, if I say ate on its own give you the hint that it was done in the past, that action was done in the past. Will be doing, so I will be doing, then it gives you the sense that something is gonna happen in future. So the word that has some time attached to it is called fi'l. And the one that hasn't got any time attached to it is called ism. Ism is time unbound. A rajul, a man. A man is man. Yesterday, today, the word itself remains the same. A house remains a house. Just by listening to the word a house or saying the word a house, you do not know whether the house you're talking about is in the past or in the present or in the future. The word does not have that time connection. Whereas I ran has got the time connection. I am running has got that time attached to it. Okay, so if it is time bound, yet it gives complete meaning, is called fi'l. And if it hasn't got any time attached to it, it is called ism. So we will be talking about these three mainly. That is all Arabic grammar. We'll talk about ism first. And when you talk about ism, again, the same thing, it is now saying in words. A word that has a meaning is called kalima. In Arabic, we define it by saying لفظ وضع لمعنى مفرد. A word which has been placed with a clear meaning. And there are three types. Ism, as you know, the name of anything. Verb is the action. Verb is the action. And it is of three types: present, past, and future. And then you have this particle, which is normally used. It doesn't give complete meaning. Rather, it helps a verb or a noun to give us meaning. How do you know in Arabic, when you look at a word, whether this word is ism or not? There's certain signs. When you look at those, just by knowing those signs, you can say that this is ism. You do not need the meaning of that. This is the beauty of the language, that you can just look at some signs. So what are those signs? Some of those signs are at the beginning. Before the word starts, you could have something before it, something at the beginning of it. And these signs are here. So number one, harf jar, a particle, a preposition. Particle, preposition, which is in, for, of, from. These particles in Arabic are called harf jar, or plural huruf jar. So huruf jarra or huruf jar, harf jar, these are, when they are attached, they are only attached to a noun. So if you find these, next to it would be a noun. If I say Bismillah, so ba is there, which is one of the prepositions. Ismillah. So what is this ism? The word ism on its own is a noun. Bi Zaydin or li Zaydin. Li, yeah, or you know in Quran, wal asri. So you automatically know that because wow is there, and this is going to be a noun. So a preposition which is attached to a word, that word will be a noun. Okay, so if you find a preposition before a word, you would know in automatically in Arabic that this is a noun, ism, ism. Or there's al. If any word has al in Arabic, that al means that this is a noun. That is a sign of a noun. Likewise, some huruf mushabba bil fail, they will call them inna, annaka, anna, lakinna, layta. The word after that will be ism all the time, a noun. Or if you say call upon someone, oh so and so, so it would be a noun. Oh so and so, oh people, oh boy. So likewise in Arabic you say ya, there will be noun after that. Ya ayyuhal ladhina, there will be noun after that. So alladhina in this case. Or it could be in the center, which is a diminutive. If the word is a diminutive of a bigger noun, like Usaid in case of Asad, or Hussein in case of Hassan, Usaymin in case of Uthman, these are signs of a noun. You automatically know that on this scale, it must be a noun, whether you know the meaning or not. And sometimes you see certain signs right at the end. So if you find a tanween, tanween is dhammatan, fathatan, kasratan, two zabar, two zay, two pesh, right at the end. If you find that, as you would find here, zaydun, zaydun, that tanween means that this is ism. Just by looking at the word without knowing the meaning in Arabic, you can say, oh, this is ism. Or if there was a connection with the country, with the city, with the tribe, like Misri, Pakistani, Britani, Britain, British. Someone who's British, we say Britani. Hindi, from India. Pakistani, Arabi. So any Quraishi, the tribe. So anyone who has any nisbah, they are denoted and they have that link there, that ya is a sign of a noun. It is only attached to the noun right at the end. Or you have tasniya or jama, ani, aini, una, ina. That is a sign of noun. And likewise, rounded ta, any word that has a rounded ta, two dots on the top with a circle ta, rounded ta, circular ta, like Talha, Aisha, Fatima, Hala, Khadija, all those names are noun. They are ism. They has to be named because they are proper noun anyway. This, any word that has this rounded ta, it is an indication that this is a noun. So when you look at noun, there are 4 aspects you have to look at. You have to look at 4 different aspects whenever you look at a noun. Each noun in Arabic would be either muzakkar or muannas. Muzakkar or muannas means it would either be a masculine or a feminine. In Arabic, a noun would be either masculine or feminine. We need to identify with each noun what is the gender of this noun. Likewise, the state or the form, is it definite or indefinite? There will be either definite or indefinite. And there would be either singular, dual, or plural. Wahid, tasniya, or jama'. There would be one of these 3. It has to be. And 4th is they will be in one of the states, one of the 3 states of i'rab, which is either they are in nominative state, accusative state, or genitive state. It has to be in. So each noun would take one from each of these 4 categories. You have to look at that, and you should know about each noun. And we go through them one by one on a weekly basis and try to figure out with each noun, what do we think about it? Okay. Okay, let's talk about the definite today. What is a definite noun? In Arabic, definite literally means something which the speaker knows about. When I mention something, when I mention a noun, when I talk about something, it is very clear in my mind, who am I referring to? If I say Zaid, I know which Zaid I'm talking about. Who am I talking about? Which person? I know everything about it. As long as the person is very clear, or the thing that I'm talking about is very clear. If I say, the masjid I went to yesterday, the masjid I went for Asr, the plane we boarded on the other day, last year, for example. So I know which plane I'm talking about. The ice cream we had last week. So we know which ice cream I'm talking about. So the there or that there is very clear. He is my friend. So and so, Zaid, for example, lives next door. He is my friend. When I say he is my friend, I know who am I talking about. So if I am clear about someone who is identified like that by me, the speaker or the person who is talking, then that is called a very specific noun. And specific noun in English is called definite. In Arabic is called ma'rifah. Ma'rifah. Say a few times. Ma'rifah. Ma'rifah. So ma'rifah is something which is known, which is identified, which you can, relate to without any trouble. It's not anything and anyone, not a general thing, but a very specific thing. And how do you make ma'rifah? There are many ways you can make ma'rifah. There are 7 different types of ma'rifah, which we will cover in a minute. But many a time you just add al to a nakira and it becomes ma'rifah, which is equivalent to the in English. Okay. For example, these are the 7 types of ma'rifah. 7 types of ma'rifah. How many types? 7 types of ma'rifah that we will study, inshallah ta'ala. Ismul alam. Ismul alam. Ismul alam means a proper noun. Any person who has any name given to them, that name is Ma'rifah, regardless. Now you may say that, but there are 20 Muhammads in my hospital. There are 15 Fatimas living on this street. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The Fatima I am talking about is very clear in my mind. Every name given to any individual is very specific in the mind of the person talking about that person. There could be hundreds of Husseins, hundreds of Zaid, hundreds of Umar, but what we are talking about, which particular Umar we are talking about, or Ali we are talking about, we are very clear that person when we talk about them. And that makes that noun a very specific name, because the father, the mother, the parents who name their child with that name, they are very clear who they are referring to. And hence anyone who call upon them, they know who they're referring to. So any name given to any individual is a proper noun, is a proper noun. Hamid, Zainab, Fatima, Aisha, Hamza, they're all proper nouns. It's called Ismul Alam in Arabic. It's called Ismul Alam. Ismul Alam. Alam means the mark, the sign. So they have got that flag on them. Alam is flag as well in Arabic. Means your name band or name badge. You have got that sign, your badge to say that this is you. And that becomes very specific, very special. It's called proper noun. Ismul Alam. Next is Ismul Dhamir. Dhamir is a pronoun. You hide that main name and you use a pronoun. For example, you would say he, you would say she, they, I, we, you, and they are all very specific to the individual you already referred to. So you have already referred to Hamid, and then you say, Hamid is my friend. He lives next door. So now this he is specific. You know who you're talking about. And when you say I, then you know who you are talking about. In fact, you know I the most because this is you yourself. So pronoun likewise is a proper noun, is a definite noun, not a proper noun, sorry, definite noun. Pronoun is a definite noun. And then isme ishara, if I point to someone, that man. If I point to someone, hada, ulaika, tilka. If I point to someone, then I know who I'm referring to, who I'm pointing to. Whether the listener understands or not, but I know. It's very, very definite. Likewise, if I refer to someone who I've had done something with, so I say, this is the same guy I met yesterday. This is that who I met yesterday. This is that. So that word is very specific about someone who I'm referring to. It's called relative pronoun. Alladhi, allati. Likewise, ismi munada. So munada is the one who you call upon. You say, oh, so and so. Oh boy, so that boy, I don't know the name, but I know the person I'm saying boy to. I know who am I calling upon. So that, oh, that is very proper, very, very definite. And then any name which was not ma'rifah, yet you put al on it. So you say qalamun, and you say al-qalamu, the pen. That becomes ma'rifah as well anyway. And when something is possessed by some other definite, for example, baytun is just a house, any house. If I say a house, and there could be millions of different houses in the world I may be referring to. But if I say bayt or the house of Allah, is that any house? No, it's very specific house. If I say baytu fulan, baytu hamidin, now I've got Hamid clearly in my mind, and I'm talking about his house. Even if he has 2, 3, 4, 5 houses, doesn't matter, can't be unlimited. It's still very specific house that I'm talking to. If I say book of the boy or book of the girl, so that is very specific, because it is not any book. It is the book which belongs to this particular girl or the boy or someone else. So that becomes more ma'rifah. Okay, these are the 7 types. We keep revising those inshallah ta'ala. Don't worry too much about that, and we get there. So one last point about this is some of the ma'rifah, some of the proper noun has tanween. So you can call Muhammadun, Khalidun, Zaydun, they're tanween, 2 pages there, yeah? Dhammatan. And that does not make it nakira. It is still ma'rifah. So tanween is a sign of ma'rifah and nakira both. But if it is on a proper noun, it is ma'rifah. Although it is normally found on nakira, it can also be found on ma'rifah. The al actually is called lam tarif, lam tarif, because hamza is, so for example, remember this, farasun, farasun means a horse, farasun is a horse. So when you have this farasun and you want to make it the horse, you would say al farasu. When you put al there, this is a sign of definite, and tanween tends to be sometimes a sign of indefinite, nakira. So that is why you just take one of those dhammatan and make it al farasu. You cannot have al and tanween together. You cannot have al and tanween together in the same word. With al, you have to take the tanween off. You only put one sign. Okay, so remember that. Okay, let's do a bit of practice on that. B ism. So B is harf jar and ism is the word name. In the name of Allah Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. So Allah has got Allah, proper noun. This is Allah's name. So this is ism and ma'rifah, the proper noun, definite one. Now ism is that a noun or a verb? A noun. Why? Because there is ba before it. Ba is a preposition before it that confirms that this is a noun. Next, Ar-Rahman. How do you know this is a noun or a verb? Because there is al. Al is a sign of a noun. So this is found on the Rahman. Likewise, Ar-Rahim. Al makes it a noun. Okay, here, li-ilafi. Li is another preposition. Ilafi is going to be a noun. Quraishin. What about Quraishin? Tanween. You remember, if you have tanween at the end, two zabar, two zay, two pesh, dhammatan, fathatan, kasratan, and it is a sign of a noun. So Quraishin is a noun. Ilafim, leave that because this is slightly complicated. We haven't done that, although we have touched upon that. It's mudaf ilayh, but leave that. Him is a pronoun, so this is a ism, a type of ism. Leave that. Ashita'i. How about this one? Al. Yeah, al denotes that this is a noun. As-sayf. As-sayf. This is a noun because of al. And this is a verb. Yes. Rabba. You know the meaning, but we don't see any sign here. Hada is ishara. Ishara means pointing to someone. Hada, a noun. Al-bayt is al there, so a noun. Alladhi is the relative pronoun. We haven't done that yet. And min is harf jar. So min before ju is, what does this make ju into? A noun because of harf jar before it, but there's tanween there, two there. Yeah, ju'in. The dot is wrong. Ju'in. That makes it again ism, a noun. Again, khawf. Khawf is khawfin. Min khawfin. Harf jar, preposition, and khawfin. It makes it a noun. Okay. So leave that there. That's our nahv part, the grammar part. We just gradually build up on this next week. Revise that. Move on to morphology, which is the second part. So morphology deals with the verbs. The verbs. It is a sign whereby the verb patterns are identified. You learn what is this word, why is it changing into something else, when it becomes a doer, when it becomes the object, when it becomes the subject. So a lot of things happen. It's a verb that you change into different things. And it helps us to read the words correctly. Now remember, there are categories of verbs. In English, when you talk about a pronoun, how many do you have? First person is I. I is first person, yes. And plural of that is we, so two. And then second person is you. Only you. For one, for two, for many, for male, for female, you use just you. And then for third person, you use he, she, it, and they as a plural of them. So 4 there. So altogether 7. In English, you have 7 pronouns, 7 categories, 7 groups. In Arabic, you have 14. 14, almost double, well, double definitely. And that makes it slightly complicated. But at the same time, when you remember it, when you learn it, it becomes much more easier to know it and then to develop on that. So there are 14 categories. So 3 for the third person, masculine, he, and those 2 men, he, and then all of them male, he. So 3 there. And 3 for the third person, feminine, she, and 2 of those she, and all of she together. There's a different word for them. And then you have 3 for second person, you, 1 person, you, 2 of you, and 3 or more of you as masculine, male. And likewise for females, 1 you female, 2 you female, and all of you female. So 3 there as well. And luckily, only 1 for first person singular, male and female together, and 1 for first person plural, male and female together. I and we remains I and we. No more than that. So that makes it 3, 3, 3, 3, 12 plus 2, 14. Okay. And that is why we suggest people to try and learn this bit. And that makes your life a lot easier. Rather, it's like your times table. If you memorize it, it makes your life a lot easier. So we slowly try to memorize some of them. Once you memorized it, it will be like your times table. Really, you can just say it quickly and then you would know. Try to learn the meaning of them all. So in Arabic, we would say, huwa, huma, hum. We start from the third person. He as a singular. He, or even then dual, they too, and then plural, they all. So huwa, huma, hum, hiya, huma, hunna. Say it after me a few times, say 10 times. Huwa, huma, hum, hiya, huma, hunna. 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 Now, huma is the same, but you use it for 2 male, 2 female, or 1 male and 1 female. Huwa, huma, hum, hiya, huma, hunna. And then for second person, you say anta, antuma, antum, anti, antuma, antunna. 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 And for first person, only ana, nahnu. Ana, nahnu. Ana, nahnu. Ana, nahnu. So first person, second person, and third person. This is how it goes. So we always try to memorize those 14 because it would deal with your verbs, nouns, everything. So we remember and memorize like that. Try to memorize it. Huwa, huma, hum, hiya, huma, hunna, anta, antum, antum, anti, antuma, antunna, ana, nahnu. And inshallah ta'ala, you will find it easy once you have memorized it. Say it 10 times, 20 times, however many times on a daily basis. And inshallah ta'ala, by next week would be on your tongue. So just revise the lesson, ideally tomorrow, if not then day after tomorrow. And then one day before the revised lesson, like the next lesson, just revise your lesson before the next lesson. And obviously remember those vocabulary and pronouns and find out 15 nouns from Quran. Open the Quran, any page, wherever you are reading it at the moment, and find out 15 words from them which are noun. It will be easy. From Quran, open the book, find out which page, which surah, and then just take 15 nouns from Quran, inshallah ta'ala. Okay, so that is our Nahv part, main part, and we would just go on to different book and spend few minutes on each, inshallah ta'ala. First book is called Kitab al-Asasi. Kitab al-Asasi. This is Qura publication. Is a fantastic book for non-Arabic speaking people, and it's called Kitab al-Asasi. A quite latest edition, mashallah. We go through it. It gives you some vocabulary, some new words. So we go for Al-Wahdatul Ula. Al-Wahdatul Ula. First unit. Al-Wahda al-Ula. First unit. Ad-Darsul Awwal. The first lesson. Ad-Darsul Awwal. The first lesson. Hujratul Dirasa. Hujratul Dirasa means the classroom. Hujratul Dirasa, the classroom. Certain words. Kurrasa. Kurrasa. Kurrasa means notebook. Kurrasa. Kitab. Kitab. Book. Kitab. Book. Or a book. Kurrasa. A notebook. Kurrasatun wa kitab. When you combine Kurrasatun wa kitab. Notebook and the book. Or an a book. A notebook and a book. Qalam. Qalam, pencil or pen. Mistara. Mistara, ruler. Ruler. Mistara, that you do satr from. Satr. Satr means a line. So mistara. Qalam wa mistara. Qalamun wa mistara. Qalamun wa mistara. Qalamun wa mistara. If you say it a few times, it becomes easy. Qalamun wa mistara. Pen, a pen and a ruler. Maq'ad. Maq'ad. The place to sit on means chair. A settee, a sofa. Maq'ad. Maq'ad. Maktab. Maktab. Table. Maktab. Maq'adun wa maktab. Maq'adun wa maktab. A chair and a table. A desk. Mudarris. Mudarris, teacher. A teacher. Sabura. 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 Board. Mudarrisun wa sabura. Mudarrisun wa sabura. A teacher and a board. Tadribat, exercises. التدريب الأول, the first exercise. اقرأ الكلمات الآتية. اقرأ الكلمات الآتية should be, that's a mistake. اقرأ الكلمات الآتية. Read the following words. كراسة وكتاب. قلم ومكتب. مقعد ومسطرة. مدرس وسبورة. And they are just testing your memory. So what is this? Sabura. Sabura is written like that. Kitab. This is kitab. Mistara. Kurrasa. Easy. Maktab. Mudarris. Qalam. Maq'ad. And then it says Akmil hasb surah. Complete as per the picture. According to the picture. Kitabun wa qalam. Kitabun wa qalam. Mistaratun wa kurrasa. Mistaratun wa kurrasa. Mistaratun wa kurrasa. This is mistara, kurrasa. Maktabun wa mudarris. Maktabun wa mudarris wa sabura. Maktabun wa mudarris wa sabura. Wa means and. In Arabic, even if you have 10 things, you say wa with each, and with each. You don't say comma, 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 and right at the end, as you do in English, but not in Arabic. You say maktabun wa mudarrisun wa sabura. Sabura, saburatun, saburatun wa maq'ad. Saburatun wa maq'ad. And they're just trying to make show that you understand the difference between seen and kaf, of and kaf. This is just writing practice. Those who want to do, they can print out and then do some practice, inshallah ta'ala. We leave that there. And finally, we'll spend a few minutes on this book called Qasasun Nabiyyin, the stories of Prophet. Qissa, the story. Qisas, the plural is Qasas. Qasas. An-Nabiyyin, the prophets. Stories of the Prophet. All the Prophet, different prophets. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Maulana Sayyid Abul Hasan Ali al-Nadawi, rahmahullah, from Nadwa, India. He has written this book for his nephew when he was small, in order to make him understand the basic Arabic, learn from it, and also get the story of the prophets. And he has done a fantastic job. This book is normally taught in most madrasas in the world, even in the Arab world. Man kasar al-asnam, who broke the idols. Man actually is a verb, is a particle. Kasara is the verb. Al-asnama, because of al is the noun. Okay, so who broke the idols? Ba'i'ul asnami. Ba'i' is the seller, the one who sells. So the buyer of the seller of al-asnam. Asnam is the idols. The seller of the idols, the one who sells idols. قبل أيام كثيرة, many days ago, mean long time ago. كثيرة جدا, very long time. كان في قرية, in a city, رجل مشهور جدا. There was a very famous man. Very جدا, very مشهور, famous man. So there was a very famous man. وكان اسم هذا الرجل آزر. The name of this man was آزر. وكان آزر يبيع الأصنام. He used to sell idols. He used to sell idols. يبيع, باع يبيع. وكان في هذه القرية, and in this city where he lived, in this village, بيت كبير جدا. A big house, a very big house. In this city, in this area, was a very big house. بيت كبير, a big house. جدا, a very big house. وكان في هذا البيت أصنام, and in this house were أصنام, the idols. Singular is صنم. صنم is singular. أصنام is plural. أصنام كثيرة جدا, a lot of idols, very many idols. وكان الناس, people, يسجدون, used to prostrate, bow down, لهذه الأصنام, to these idols. People used to do sajda. They used to prostrate, sajda, to these idols. These idols. وكان آزر, and Azar, يسجد, used to prostrate, لهذه الأصنام, to these idols. وكان آزر, and Azar, يعبد, used to worship, هذه الأصنام, these idols. He used to worship those idols. ولد آزر, Azar's son, son of Azar. ولد آزر, مضاف مضاف إليه. آزر مجرور, yet it doesn't take kasra for jar. It takes fatha because of it being غير منصرف. This is for those who have done some Arabic, not for you. وكان آزر له ولد رشيد, and for Azar was a very intelligent boy. Means he had a very intelligent son. ولد رشيد, an intelligent son. Azar had an intelligent son. رشيد جدا, a very intelligent. وكان اسم هذا الولد إبراهيم. And this boy's name was, this son's name was Ibrahim. وكان Ibrahim يرى الناس, used to see people يسجدون للأصنام, that they are prostrating, doing sajda to idols. Ibrahim alayhi salam used to see the people prostrating to the idols. ويرى الناس, and he used to see, and he saw يعبدون الأصنام, the people, he would see people يعبدون الأصنام, that they are worshipping the idols. وكان إبراهيم, and Ibrahim عليه السلام يعرف, knew أن الأصنام, that the idols are حجارة, idols are حجارة, that he knew that the idols are حجارة, means stones, are stones. وكان يعرف, and he knew أن الأصنام, that the idols لا تتكلم, do not speak, ولا تسمع, and do not hear. وكان يعرف, and he knew أن الأصنام, that the idols لا تضر, do not harm, ولا تنفع, and do not benefit, نفع. وكان, and he يرى, used to see أن الذباب, that indeed the fly يجلس, would sit على الأصنام, on those idols, on these idols, فلا تدفع, and they cannot repel it, they cannot remove it. وكان يرى الفأر, and he used to see a mouse يأكل طعام الأصنام, the mouse would eat food of the idols. فلا تمنع, and yet they would not stop it, they cannot stop it. وكان إبراهيم يقول في نفسه, Ibrahim alayhi salam used to say in his heart, in his mind, to himself, he used to say to himself, لماذا يسجد الناس للأصنام, why do people perform sajda or prostrate to these idols, to the idols? وكان إبراهيم, and Ibrahim alayhi salam يسأل نفسه, would ask himself, لماذا يسأل الناس الأصنام, why do people ask the idols for their need? Whenever they need to do something, when they are in need of something, they would ask the idols. Why do they do that? نصيحة إبراهيم, Ibrahim alayhi salam's advice. وكان إبراهيم يقول لوالده, Ibrahim alayhi salam used to say to his father, his walid, his father, يا أبي, oh my father, لماذا تعبد هذه الأصنام, why do you worship these idols? ويا أبي, oh my father, لماذا تسجد لهذه الأصنام, why do you prostrate to these idols? ويا أبي, and oh my father, لماذا تسأل هذه الأصنام, why do you ask of any help, for assistance, these idols? إن هذه الأصنام, indeed these idols, لا تتكلم, do not speak, ولا تسمع, and do not hear. وإن هذه الأصنام, and indeed these idols, لا تضر, do not harm, ولا تنفع, and do not benefit. ولأي شيء تضع لها الطعام والشراب, and for what reason would you put for them food and drink? وإن هذه الأصنام يا أبي, and indeed these idols, O my father, لا تأكل, do not eat, ولا تشرب, and do not drink. وكان آزر يغضب ولا يفهم, and Azar used to get very angry and would not understand. وكان إبراهيم, and Ibrahim alayhi salam used to ينصح لقومه, would advise his people. وكان الناس, and the people يغضبون, would get angry. ولا يفهمون, and wouldn't get any understanding, they wouldn't understand. فهم يفهم, to understand. قال إبراهيم, Ibrahim alayhi salam said, أنا أكسر الأصنام, I will break the idols. إذا ذهب الناس, when people would go, when people would leave. وحينئذ يفهم الناس, and then people would understand. Then people would understand. Ibrahim يكسر الأصنام, Ibrahim alayhi salam breaks the idols. وجاء يوم عيد, Eid day came, and came the day of Eid. This is what literally means. And came the day of Eid. Eid day, festival came. فَفَرِحَ النَّاسِ, so people became happy. They enjoyed. They rejoiced. وَخَرَجَ النَّاسُ, and people went out. لِلْعِيدِ, for Eid, for the celebration. وَخَرَجَ الْأَطْفَالِ, and the children left homes as well. They went out. وَخَرَجَ وَالِدُ إِبْرَاهِيمِ, Ibrahim alayhi salam's father went as well. وَقَالَ لِإِبْرَاهِيمِ, and he said to Ibrahim, أَلَا تَخْرُجُ مَعَنَا, are you not coming with us? قال إبراهيم أنا سقيم, Ibrahim alayhi salam said, I'm sick, I'm unwell, I'm not well, I don't feel well. وذهب الناس, so people left. وبقي إبراهيم في البيت, and Ibrahim alayhi salam stayed in the house. وجاء إبراهيم إلى الأصنام, then Ibrahim alayhi salam came to the idols. وقال للأصنام, and he said to the idols, ألا تتكلمون, would you not speak? ألا تسمعون, would you not hear? هذا طعام وشراب, this is food and drink. ألا تأكلون, would you not eat? ألا تشربون, would you not drink? وسكتت الأصنام, the idols stayed quiet. لأنها, because they are حجارة, stones. لا تنطق, they do not speak. قال إبراهيم, then Ibrahim said, and whenever something comes in parentheses like this is part of Quran. So Ibrahim alayhi salam said, ما لكم لا تنطقون, what happened to you? Why don't you talk? وسكتت الأصنام وما نطقت, the idols stayed quiet and they did not speak. حينئذ غضب إبراهيم, at that moment Ibrahim alayhi salam got very angry. غضب. وأخذ الفأس, and he took an axe. He picked an axe. وضرب إبراهيم الأصنام, and then he hit, Ibrahim alayhi salam hit the idols بالفأس, with that axe. وكسر الأصنام, and he broke the idols. وترك إبراهيم, and Ibrahim alayhi salam left الصنم الأكبر, the biggest sanam, the biggest idol, the top size idol, the biggest one of them. وعلق الفأس في عنقه, and hanged the axe around his neck, on his neck. So inshallah ta'ala, we leave that there. He hanged it around the neck of this big idol. Inshallah ta'ala, we start next week from here. So revise your lesson, and inshallah ta'ala we'll be with you next week. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.